In Saint Vincent and the Grenadines, we have nearly 100 miles of highways. We have 400 miles of village roads, secondary roads, and we have 400 miles of agricultural feeder roads. The money which we collect for motor vehicle licenses, driver's licenses, inspection fees, you put all of them together, they can only build 8 miles of road. Yep. I suspect, and not, you may have different ratios here in different numbers, absolute numbers, but I would say that it's only a small percentage of the roads that you can actually build, so that you have to go from general revenue to look for money, or you have to borrow money. Everybody else complains about the potholes nowadays more than hitherto, because when I came to office, you had far fewer vehicles. You have now 8-9 times the numbers of vehicles. Absolutely. So what do you have? And I'm speaking to our people, and I think Barbadians could also connect to the point I'm making. I give a scholarship to a young man to do medicine. 5 years scholarship for all the fees, benchmark against the medical, he gets a national scholarship, the benchmark against the faculty here in Barbados, Faculty of Medicine at the University of the West Indies. Approximately 600,000 Eastern Caribbean dollars. That's what this costs. He gets a job in the government. We have a policy that if you're in the public service, you get 100% mortgages, no down payment mortgages, because you're working with the government. So you get your scholarship for $600,000. You then go and you borrow, you work 2-3 years, you did your internship, you borrow another $300,000-$400,000. So, but the first thing is the 600,000. That's free. So, by the time you're 25, $1 million has been invested in you. Your university education. I'm not talking about your primary and your secondary and your post-secondary. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking university. But a house which you get 100% mortgage on, in the last half kilometer to your home, there's a pothole on which you are driving your $30,000 second-hand car from Japan. But you forget the $1 million investment. And all you're concerned about is the shocks and the tire for you. No. I put that there, and I raise the question now of social solidarity. The ideal world for some persons, a lot of critics, they want no taxation. Yep. They want perfect roads. They want fantastic buildings for primary, secondary, post-secondary, all the polyclinics, everything and so on. You don't pay any taxes, or you pay very marginal taxes. But Ralph must stay at home, Mia must stay at home, don't go and look for any money to borrow anywhere. And the IMF could say, what a wonderful thing that you are doing, that you have not 1 cent owing in taxes and so on and so forth. Now, There was a time when you had governments who run like that. There was a one-party government which ran it. It was called a colonial government. And you had mass poverty, you had no education, you had none of these things. Now, tell me what you want. And then you develop your sense of individualism without any sense of solidarity.
Give it back.
And you're focusing, in some cases, on good times. I'm interested in good times, not in living a good life. And you want to go to every fete. Leisure, pleasure, nice time, which I love more than anybody else. Yeah. But you have to work hard and smart for it. And you have to be in solidarity with one another to build societies which are cohesive. We have to go for peace, security, prosperity, justice, and sustainable development for all. That involves countries which are small and vulnerable like ours, certain kinds of governance and certain kinds of individual action in concert with one another. And what has happened? Life development is taking place and things are getting along. The living standards are immense. The improvements are tremendous. And you come from here, and you come here. Your needs and wants are better satisfied. Notice needs and wants than here. You forget where you were. You live in a permanent condition of dissatisfaction overwhelmingly. But forgetting what is the process. Well, the process which brought you here is the same process will take you from here to higher. But not to be part of a complaining industry, but to be part of a serious nation building in solidarity with one another. Nobody is supporting profligate government, but you have to be prudent and enterprising. And enterprising will call, among other things, for manageable debts. Yep. And you will need to do things sometimes which the electorate may not as yet understand it, but it can be explained to them, and overwhelmingly they will understand it. I use an expression in Saint Vincent and the Grenadines, the metaphoric expression. You will always have, metaphorically, barking dogs. But the caravan of life, living, and production must move on. And we have to be mature in our deliberations. And I am 100% sure that the overwhelming majority of people in the Caribbean are reasonable and mature in their judgments. Of course, when folly is uttered, you respond to the folly, you explain it, and if at the end of the day, people are not satisfied with your explanation and your performance, there's a thing called elections, and then they deal with you at that particular point in time. You know? Reality checks, in other words. But you know what is happening? There's a lot of individualistic thinking by so many persons. In Saint Vincent and Grenadines, for instance, and you have them all about, you have 10 diplomatic postings, but you have 50 people whom you educated, and the 50 of them want diplomatic postings because they don't get them. Think, well, they will go for the other side. But within a month, if the government were to change, 40 are going to be disappointed because only 10 could get. You know, I have a manner of speaking on these things where maybe because of my longevity that I can talk very freely, and I speak like this, at home, respectfully, but explain everything to people and leave it to them.
Absolutely. Now you know, Ralph, why we do the Parish Speaks, because that's when I use the opportunity to break down things, because we live in a world, regrettably, where we are not having sufficient family conversations. And this is really what this is. And the more that we can do it, and the more we can engage each other, we won't get everybody, but we need to understand that if we don't protect what we have and we don't build what we have, then we're liable to lose it.